Simon says subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
It's time now to move on to talking about a really important subject in Word, and that is word styles. Now, I've referenced word styles quite a lot in previous lessons, and now we've come to the point where we can start to talk about them. So what exactly is a word style? Well, if we take a look on the home ribbon, notice we have a big, large group just here called styles. If we click the drop down, it's going to open up the styles gallery. And you'll notice here that this takes on the appearance of whatever theme we've got in use. So I'm using the custom theme that I created in my last lesson. Now, styles allow you to give your document a little bit of structure, but they are so much more than that as well. And I highly recommend that if you're putting together a document in Word, that you get into the habit of using word styles, because it's going to make your life so much easier when you want to add things like tables of contents into your document. So many things in Word are controlled by the styles that you're using. So what exactly do I mean by styles? Well, if we take a look at our coffee document behind, we don't currently have any styles applied to this document. For example, we've got a heading up here, a title. I don't have anything that tells Word that this is actually the title of the document. Underneath that, I have effectively a subheading, a heading 1, a main heading in this document. What is coffee? But nothing tells Word that this is a heading 1. What do I have underneath that? Well, I have a few different paragraphs of text. And this is what we call body text. It's just the regular text in your document that isn't a heading, isn't a title, isn't anything else other than text. If I scroll down a bit further, I have another heading just here. But again, it doesn't stand out, and Word doesn't know that this is effectively a heading 1. And we have lots of different levels of heading that we can apply to our documents. So in general, if I'm looking at this, I would probably say that this is going to be a title style. This one is probably going to be a heading 1. If I scroll down, this is probably going to be a heading 1 as well, as is this one just here. But it might be that I get to certain points of my document where I want a second level heading. So something that's related to the first level, but isn't of the same importance. For example, I might have coffee as the heading 1, and then I might have types of coffee as the heading 2. And you can see that reflected in the styles that we have in the gallery. You can see currently it's just telling me that I have a normal style applied, no particular formatting. But I have heading 1s in here, I have heading 2s, I have a title style, subtitle, so on and so forth. So I can select these and apply them to my document to give it some structure and also help me out when I do things like a table of contents. Now, I won't linger too much on why they're so helpful when you're putting together tables of contents until a bit later on. For the time being, just know what a style is and where you can access them from. Now, if I take a look at my document, how do I know that I don't have any styles applied? This could be a style. I could create my own custom style, set it to this color, this size, this font, and no one would be any the wiser. Well, this is where it helps to switch into a different view, because it's going to show you exactly what styles you have to each line, each paragraph in your document. So if we jump up to View, in the Views group, if I switch into Draft View, that doesn't look too helpful at the moment. I'm not seeing what styles I have applied. Now that's because currently that information is hidden. We do need to be in Draft View, but we need to make a small change in Word options first. So if we jump up to File and into Options, and for this we need to go down into Advanced. Now if we scroll all the way down, I think this is underneath Display. Yes, there it is. Style Area Pane Width in Draft and Outline Views. Now currently, this pane is set to 0 centimeters, which is why we can't see it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that I want a 2 centimeter style area pane and click on OK. Notice now what I have over on the left hand side. I get this style area pane and it's showing me what styles I have applied to each of my paragraphs. And because we haven't added any styles to this document yet, it's just telling me that everything has a normal style, which is the default. But as soon as we start applying things, it's going to change. So we're going to see if we have a title, if we have a heading 1, a heading 2, a heading 3, so on and so forth. So I would always recommend when you're starting to go through and apply word styles that you jump into draft view and make sure you have this pane turned on, because it's going to make it so much easier for you to see what you're doing. So now we have an understanding as to what styles are. In the next lesson, we're going to start styling up this document and applying our styles. Now that we understand what a style is, it's time to go through our document and start applying styles. So let's start with the title area up here. I'm going to jump back across to Home, and in the Styles group, this is the title of the document. So I'm going to choose to apply the title style. And you can see that that is pretty large, but I'm fine with that. Notice that as soon as I apply that style, the styles pane updates and I can now see that I have that particular style applied to this paragraph. Let's click underneath at what is coffee. This is a heading effectively. So I'm going to apply heading 1 to this style. Now notice that the regular text in here has the normal style applied, and that is absolutely fine. I don't want to change that. I'm going to scroll through until I find the next heading, and this one is also a heading 1. I might want to do some cleanup, so I can see here I've got a blank line in here. And what I could do to make this even more obvious is turn on my show hide markers. I can see, yeah, I just have an extra line, so I can backspace to make that look a little bit neater. Now underneath this heading 1, I have effectively a subheading of that heading, historical transmission. So this one is going to be a heading 2. It's not exactly on the same level as the heading 1, but it is related. So we're going to choose heading 2 from our styles gallery. Let's scroll down and see what else we have. Here we go, the next one here, cultivation. This is going to be a heading 1. Ecological effects, that's also going to be a heading 1. Sustainable production is a heading 1. Production comes underneath sustainable production, so that's going to be a heading 2, as is processing, and also roasting, heading 2. Now I can see here I have roasted coffee beans. Now I'm going to put this as a heading level 3. I'm also going to put grading roasted beans as a heading level 3. And I'm going to do the same for roast characteristics and decaffeination. And I think also storage comes underneath that heading. Now if we take a look at storage, the next one are the different types of storage for coffee. So I'm going to put these at the next level, a heading level 4. Now we're on to brewing. So this is going to be back at a heading level 1. I can see I've got another blank line in here, so let's just deal with that straight away. Nutrition, that's going to be a heading 1. Instant coffee, well, let's put that as a heading 1 as well. And I'm going to put this subheading of instant coffee as a heading 2. Let's remove this line. Consumption, I'm going to put that as a heading 1. We then have our bulleted list. Now notice here in that styles area pane, it's recognized this as a list paragraph. Now, so far I've been going through this document and doing everything individually. But if you want to apply heading levels to more than one piece of text at a time, you can definitely do that. So if I go to health effects, digestion and mortality, I'm simply holding down my control key as I select. So I'm going to select these titles just here and apply a heading 1. And if I scroll down, I can see mental health, and then we have some different types of diseases. Now, looking at this, I think I've got my headings a little bit wrong here. So really health effects needs to be the heading 1, and I probably want these to be heading 2s. So let's go for digestion. Let's make that a heading 2. Mortality, I'm also going to make a heading 2. I think I'm going to make the rest of these all heading 2s. And there we go. We are now at the end of the document. I'm going to turn off my non-printing characters, Control Home to jump to the top of the document. So now I can see very clearly what styles I have applied to each paragraph in this document. If I want to see what this is going to look like when I print it out, I can jump back to View and switch back to Print Layout. And there we have our document. If I want to get a better overview as to what this document looks like, again, up on the View ribbon, I could go for multiple pages in the Zoom group. And this just allows me to see more than one page at a time and get more of a high-level look at my document. Now, I think this is looking pretty good so far. I'm going to take this back to one page and I'm going to zoom in to 100%. So now that we have some styles applied to our document, let's go back to the Design tab, because this is when our style sets are going to take effect, because we now have styles in our document. So if I want to change the look and feel, I can then go to my document formatting gallery and choose something completely different. So maybe the basic, simple, built-in style set. And that's going to change the look and feel immediately. What about if I was to go for this one just here? I get a completely different look and feel. Or maybe that one. Now I think I'm going to go for, let's go for this one just here. Click to apply. And if we scroll through our document, you can see how nice this is starting to look. So that's how easy it is to apply styles to your document and then change the look and feel using a style set from the gallery. Once you've applied word styles to your document, you can then go a stage further and modify the style if you want to. So if we take a look at the document that we have on the screen, maybe I look at this and I think to myself, actually, you know what? I quite like the title being in this color, but maybe I want the heading 1s to be in a completely different color. Maybe I want the heading 2s to be in a different color again. Or maybe I even want to use a different font for these heading level 1s or heading level 2s. Well, we can make modifications to the style that we're using in the Styles pane. And the Styles pane is where we go to create new styles and make modifications to current styles. Now we get to the Styles pane from the Home ribbon. In the Styles group, we need to click the diagonal arrow in the bottom corner. Now when we click this, it opens up this little floating pane. And again, this is one of those panes that you can dock to the right-hand side of the screen if you find that a bit easier. We can even drag this out to make it a little bit bigger. Now notice what we have in this Styles pane. This is showing us all of the different styles that could be applied to this document. So we have our normal style, we have our heading 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, so on and so forth. We have our title style in there. Now I'm not using all of these styles in this document, but they are all there for me to not only customize, but also select. So if I want to change the way that all of the heading 1s in this document look, I can simply hover my mouse over where we have heading 1. When I do that, I can see all of the properties that are applied to that heading 1 style, such as the font that's in use, paragraph spacing, so on and so forth. I can click the drop down and I can choose select all 10 instances. So Word has recognized that in this document, I've used the heading 1 style 10 times. When I click this, it's going to select all of the heading 1s in my document, which makes it super easy to make any further changes. So let's say that I want to modify this style so that the heading 1s are in a completely different color. Well, if I hover back over heading 1, click the drop down, I'm going to choose Modify. And this takes me into the properties for this style. So the name is heading 1, that's fine. The style is based on normal, and the style for the following paragraph is normal. So this is pretty important. What this is basically saying is that whenever we've applied a heading 1, when we press the Enter key and we start to type in some text, the style for that paragraph is going to be normal. And in general, that's what you'd want it set to, because we normally have a heading, and then we want to follow that with what we call body text, normal text. I can see the current formatting, so I'm using Lato Black for my heading 1s. It's size 18 and it's this particular color. And I can customize any of these items, even go as far to customize things like the alignment of my heading 1s. So maybe I decide that I want all heading 1s in the middle. I could simply change that just there. Now I don't, I'm going to put that back to left alignment. But what I do want to do is I want to change the color of these headings. So I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to choose a completely different color from my theme color palette. So let's go for this green. Now that looks pretty good, but something that looks a little bit strange is that the line underneath health effects is still in that red color. It didn't change when I changed the font color. So how can I change that? Well, I don't see anywhere in my properties just here where I could change an underline. Now, what about if I click on the format button at the bottom? Which one of these could this possibly fall under? Well, it might be that this line is simply part of a border. So if I click on border, let's take a look. Yes, I can see here in the preview window, there is that red line. So that red line is effectively a bottom border. So if I want to change that color to match the font color, I can click the drop down and I can choose the green. And I think it was this green just here. Once I've changed it, I can simply click on that red line to change the color and click on OK. And now you can see that that's updated. So if I click on OK now, every single heading 1 in my document is going to have updated with these changes. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks. What about if I want to change my heading 2s? Well, the process is very similar. I can hover back over heading 2. I'm going to first select all 13 instances of heading 2, and then I'm going to modify the way it looks. So this time I'm going to change the color. So let's select a slightly lighter green. We'll go for this green this time. But I'm going to jump back into format, and I think I want a little bit more space after the heading 2. So let's go into paragraph, and let's say spacing after, I'm going to put this up so we have a little bit more space there, and click on OK. And you can see how that has updated in the preview. What about if I also want a line underneath my heading 2s? Well, again, I could go into format, into border. Let's choose our color. We want this lighter green. I'm just going to click in this preview window at the bottom there and click on OK. And you can see what that looks like. So there are lots of things in this format drop down that's going to allow you to customize exactly how you want your headings, your different styles to look. I could even assign a shortcut key to the heading 2, and that's going to make it a lot quicker and easier for me to apply. Now again, you have to be a little bit careful here when you're assigning shortcut keys because many of them are already taken by other commands. So I'm going to say that I want my heading 2s to have the keyboard shortcut Control-Alt-2. Click on Assign, Close. And now when I click on OK, all of my heading 2s are going to be updated. And just to make sure this keyboard shortcut works, let's click next to, let's go for mental health, because this is a heading 2. Now I want to test that my keyboard shortcut is working. So if I click next to where we have mental health, if I take a look in the styles pane, you can see the style I have applied is highlighted in that pane. So I know this is a heading 2. Now I'm going to change this back to normal. Again, we can select it from the styles pane. So if I want to apply a heading 2 style, I can use my keyboard shortcut Control-Alt-2. And it's as simple as that. Also notice if we close down this styles pane and take a look up in that styles gallery, all of the styles available up here have changed to reflect the new formatting, those modifications that I've made. So if I was to carry on at the end of this document and add something else, let's just say benefits of coffee, I could make this a heading 1, a heading 2, I could make it a title, I could make it a heading 3, so on and so forth. In the previous lesson, we took a look at how we can modify our styles using the Styles pane. But what about if we want to create our own style? Well, we can do that from the Styles pane as well. So let's click our diagonal arrow to bring up that Styles pane one more time. Now, when we hover over any of these styles, if we click the drop down, we have a modify button. But in this case, we don't want to modify a specific style. We want to create our own style. So maybe I want to create a custom style that I can apply to all titles in a document. What I can do is all the way at the bottom, notice that we have 3 icons just here. And the first one is New Style. So if I click this, it's going to open up the Create New Style from Formatting dialog box, where I can really customize what my style looks like. So this is going to be a title style. So the name I'm going to give it is, I'm just going to use my initials and title. The style type is going to be a paragraph, because that's effectively what a title is. It's just a paragraph. It's going to be based on the normal style. I'm going to leave that exactly as it is. And then I can choose what style I want for the following paragraph. Now, this isn't an exact science. It might not be that when I type a title, the next paragraph is always a heading 1. It might be that I have some text in here before the next heading. So I'm just going to say style for the following paragraph. I'm going to leave that on normal. Now, what formatting do I want? Well, I want my title to be Lato Black. So let's change this. We're going to click the drop down and we're going to choose Lato Black, just to keep this all within the same font family. So let's select that. What size do I want it? Well, let's click the drop down. I'm not going to make this one as huge. Let's just go for 16 points. And the color that I want for my title style, well, this time I'm going to go to more colors and I'm going to choose a color from this standard palette. Now, just as a side note here, if you're needing to be very specific about the colors that you're using, maybe you have the hex code from the branding guidelines that your marketing team has sent you. If you have that hex code, you can come across to custom and you can simply type the hex code in there. So just be aware of that as well. Now, I don't. I'm just going to change this to something that I think is quite nice. So let's go for, I think we'll go for a blue color. I think we'll choose this one just here and click on OK. So we can see this being applied in the preview window underneath. Now, I know it looks like it's applying it to the main body text, but remember in Word, a title is effectively the same as a paragraph, which is why we're getting a paragraph preview here. Maybe I want this title to also appear in the center. So I'm going to change the alignment to center alignment. What about in this format menu? Well, maybe I want this title to have a border around the outside. So let's go into border. I'm going to choose my color. So we're going to go for the same blue, which I can pick up from recent colors. And this time I want a box border. So I want a border around the outside of this title. So I have some presets here. One of them is box. If you notice when I select that in the preview window, it's going to put a box around the outside, which is fine. And maybe I want to apply some background shading as well. So if we jump across to the shading tab, I can choose a fill color. Now I don't want this to be too dramatic, so I'm just going to choose a light gray. Let's click on OK. And that's what it's going to look like. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's click on OK again. Notice that in the Styles pane, right at the top, we now have my new style, DA title. Now it's applied it automatically to the paragraph that I was clicked in, which isn't quite correct. So I need to make a modification here. I'm going to change this paragraph back to normal, click up in this title area, and then I'm going to apply the DA title style. And you can see that's what it looks like. Now, it might be that once I've applied this, I think to myself, actually, you know what? I don't particularly like that. Maybe the font's a bit too small for a main document title. So what I can do is go back over to my Styles pane, click the drop down, choose Modify, and I want to make this quite a bit bigger. So let's go for 26. In fact, I think I'm going to go even bigger than that. Let's go for 36. Click on OK. And that looks a lot better. Notice also that now up in my styles gallery, it's added my new custom style at the top here, ready for me to apply. So it's very simple to create your own custom style. What do you think is going to happen if I load up a new document? Control N. Take a look at that. If we take a look up in the styles gallery, notice that my new style is no longer there. And that's because when I created that style, I set it for use in that document only. So if we Control W to close this document down, let's go back to our styles pane where we have DA title. I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to say I want to modify this style. And take a look at the options that we have at the bottom here. So currently I have only in this document set, but I could choose new documents based on this template. So let's select that, click on OK, and let's also do the same thing for the styles that we modified. So let's do the same thing for our heading 1. Let's modify the style and say new documents based on this template. Let's do the same for heading 2. Modify the style and select. And also this title style as well. So that was the original title style, the one in red. Let's select and click on OK. So now if I press Control N to create a new document, notice that in the styles gallery, I now have access to those styles because they're available for all documents based on the normal .x template.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.